everybody, and welcome to another episode of Trash Takes. I'm your host, Andrew Coach. You can call me Coach. Follow me at the Real Mr. 83 on Twitter. I'm here with my co-host Al Hill. You can follow me at Sensation_Al. Expect there's an X where the O should be.
Yeah.
And you can follow us at Trash Takes 3. A lot of exciting stuff that we're picking up on. We're actually recording on Easter Sunday. A lot of stuff going on this weekend that it was tough to record, but we make no excuses because there's hundreds and thousands of fans that are constantly listening to us week after week, and we can't let them down. So here we are.
Week after week, bro, they just wait. They wait and they wait. They sit there,
So
1
many.
p.m.,
So many.
it hits, and their lives come to a stop. It comes to a halt.
Dude. The bright spot of their week.
Constantly.
We do have fun stuff. Baseball started, and there was a lot of stuff. I mean, you have March Madness that are still kicking off. And we are in the trenches as far as March Madness goes. So I know there's a few things you were excited about. Me, I had one thing I was bitter about, but I'll let you kick off.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, Stanford Cardinals came out in the tournament. They won by 1 over the Cinderella story Arizona Wildcats. I don't know where they came from. It felt like it was UConn's tournament to lose, and they lost. Stanford came out, won by 1 point. And then over on the men's side of things, the Zaga UCLA game was nuts. UCLA trying to make the run. But Gonzaga right where they're supposed to be, right where everybody thought they'd be in the finals against Baylor. I'm personally sticking with the Zags. What about you?
So I'm pissed. They're dead to me, and I can care less what they do because Zaga went into that game as minus 14 favorites, and that was supposed to be a blowout. So I was in on them to cover a certain amount, both in the first half and the full game live. Now, so when everybody else is getting excited, just watching March Madness game, and oh my goodness, look at this back and forth, and then you had the buzzer beater, the half-court shot that ripped the hearts out of UCLA. All I'm sitting there saying is, you know what? If you're going to cost me money, I hope you lose. So I actually wasn't really happy about the big, Titanic music in the background type moment of Gonzaga, with that buzzer beater. But if I want to take myself out of it, it really was an incredible game. It was an incredible shot. Yes, you can still roll with Gonzaga. So I think they'll return back to – I mean, I'll give credit to UCLA. Let me not take it away from them. I think they'll go back to exactly who you expect them to be, that undefeated team that's just looking to dominate. But we will see. Again, I'm against them now.
Yeah, I mean, a little like for the whole season, it was like that, like the weird COVID season. There were a bunch of teams that just didn't exist. I mean, UNC, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, none of them were where you thought they'd be. And the whole season, it just seemed like this was Gonzaga's tournament to win, right? And now they're exactly where they thought we'd be. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. But Baylor's gonna be tough. So we'll see how it shakes out. Again, I'm going to be no fan of Gonzaga. Now, the more exciting part, especially for me, is baseball. Well, let me say this correctly. Baseball has started for some. I will let you as a fan of a team that actually is playing the opening series, opening day. How are you feeling about your Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, they're 1-2. They lost 2 games to the Blue Jays. Not anything ludicrous. The Blue Jays are good. We thought the Blue Jays were going to be good. Not shocked. Domingo Germán pitched today. Didn't look good. Hadn't pitched in 8 million days. So not a shocker there.
Didn't he only have one blow-up inning, or did he get shelled around the whole game?
No, I'm pretty sure they scored three runs in the first, and then Michael King pitched a gem. Michael King came in relief and threw 6 innings and gave up like 1 hit, no earned, like 2 walks or something. Yeah, he was really good in relief. So I mean, Domingo Germán had, I guess a bad game, but he pitched 3 innings and one of them was god awful. And the rest of it was like whatever. Yeah. Not really a surprise. 1-2, it is what it is. I mean, they got some over on us. I'm sure we're gonna have some games where Judge and Stanton hit 4 home runs apiece, and then some nonsense.
That's if they play. I mean, you already have rest days. You already have rest days for these guys 3 games in. And I think it's a smart move. It just sucks that you actually have to have rest games for some of these what I would consider still young players because of the injury concern.
Yeah. What about
You have the right attitude.
what about you on the other hand, man? Where are the Mets? Just real quick, Orioles undefeated. So I mean,
Yeah.
right where we thought they'd be.
Well, before I get to the lack thereof of anything to speak on for my team, since they didn't play like yours, you said that, you know what? Listen, 1-2, no big deal, right? Oh, the Orioles undefeated 3-0, right? I want to look at it because you have a slew of different fans from different fandoms, and they're split on who freaks out over a first opening series and who doesn't, and who says, "Oh my goodness, do you see how good this team looks 3 games out of the gate, and what is going to mean for us?" And who looks at it saying it doesn't mean a damn thing, or the opposite end, "Oh my gosh, we just got swept or lost the series, we look like crap." And I would say that for most people like yourself, you just said, "Hey, we're going to get some games over them. They're going to get some games over me or us." That's the right mindset. Obviously, we're 3 games into April. We're 3 games into
162
the season itself. Yeah. So nothing to freak out over. But what I would say is that it depends how you win or how you lose, that you might be able to take something from it and be like, either happy, obviously, or damn, we got to watch out for that. For you guys, for example, if you guys start to lose these opening series, maybe games you feel like you shouldn't, by leaving runners on base in scoring position, and it's a reoccurring issue that you've seen in big spots, I think it is something as a fan, be like, damn, here we go again, because it's already something you saw in the dog days of August and September and stuff like that, and even postseason. So you're like, come on, are we really doing this shit again? And vice versa, if it's like you're losing because of issues that were never issues in the past, you're like, oh, we don't get, Domingo Germán's not really always going to get shelled like that, or Stanton Judge is not going to go 0 for 6 or whatever. If you're losing that way, then we can take that with a grain of salt. But I think if you start losing in the notorious ways that is already an issue for your team, you can literally say that, like, we're really starting out like this already,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, quite honestly, I didn't pay much attention to the game today. I know, there was other stuff going on. I know, I saw immediately that they were talking about Domingo Germán having a bad outing, and I was like, oh shit. And then it was 3-0, and it was, whatever, cool, we can bring it back. And then it was 3-1 in the 9th, and then the game was over. Whatever, not a big deal. But they did make a big deal, the opener that the Yankees lost, because they lost the first game, won the second game, lost the third game. The opener, Aaron Judge came out in the post-game press conference and was like, yo, this entire game's on me, because I think they lost by 1, and he left 5 runners on base. He made the last out 2 or 3 separate times, and in total had
double plays and bases loaded.
5 runners on base. Yeah, it's rough. But I mean, obviously, a hitter of his stature, hitting 2, you could expect him to hit 270, 280, somewhere in that range. That's not going to happen all season. So you know that some of those situations in the future, he's going to knock in 2 or 3 on a double or whatever it may be, hit a grand slam, whatever it is. And it's going to change the outcome of those particular scenarios. I mean, I'm 3 games in. I'm not going to freak out. I do, however, you're one of these guys who's saying, oh yeah, you might not want to freak out like this. Do you recall the 2017 or 2018 Mets? One of those two. They started out 9-0.
No, they started off 12-2.
And they missed the playoffs. And I heard nothing but the Yankees are awful and the Mets are going to win the World Series. And one of the New York teams made the playoffs, and it sure was not the Mets. So
yeah, I think
I feel like that probably.
I don't care who you are. You started a season off 9-0, 11-1, or 12-2. I don't care what your fandom or what team you're rooting for. You are going to sit there and be like, holy shit. We're doing something that people have never seen before.
Yeah, 12-2 in the NFL, dude.
Yeah, well, of course. But you're just always going to get excited. Yes, the Mets should have took that with a grain of salt when it was like Todd Frazier leading the team in doing that, and you probably should have known that it was going to fizzle out. It was like back in 2013 when John Buck, the catcher, had 12 home runs in April. We're like, oh, we got the best hitting catcher of all time. So, yeah, no, obviously you have to take things with a grain of salt, but if you really think you're going to be able to calm down a fan base that's on a two-run to start the season, dude, Come on, Mets.
You're gone forever?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I missed most of what you said there.
Cool.
Basically, I mean, I'm sure we all got the gist. Mets are bad. Or were bad.
No, it's just you're not going to be able to calm down a fan base that starts off 12-2.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So what about the current day Mets?
So there's no such thing. Obviously, you got the pleasure of being able to watch the Yankees in opening series. You know, this will obviously drop Monday, Tuesday. You'll be on your second series by then. You know, start off 1-2. I'd love the privilege to watch 1-2. See, what ended up happening was heading into the opening series, something that every player knew exactly when it started, where they had to be, had plenty of ample time to prepare themselves as an organization. The Washington Nationals, who we were supposed to play, ended up having 5 or 6 players and maybe 1 staff member in COVID protocol, as in 4 being tested positive and then some others in close contact, right? So this happened right up to the 11th hour before the season started, and they postponed the Thursday game. And then even with the break of Thursday, Friday, we're still not able to kick it off on Saturday. And then they moved and postponed the entire series altogether. This doesn't make a lick of sense. And my concern is what they're going to do moving forward. So last year, when COVID first hit in full-fledged, we were not even really prepared for it. We were trying to have a season anyways, didn't really know how to handle it. When COVID hit, you had multiple instances where teams like the Marlins had, forget 5 players, let's call it 9, 10, 11, 12 players in COVID protocol that were completely out of baseball, and they made them play the games. They made them play whether it was make up the doubleheaders or just play the game straight up, because they had taxi squad players, alternate side players, and whatever people they can sign and bring up to fill in those roles. And I'm wondering, why the hell was this any different for opening series against the Mets? Ratings? Like, oh, I'm sorry, boo-hoo. The Mets did everything right to be prepared, healthy, and did everything right in COVID protocol to be there opening day with everybody perfectly fine. And what, because you were going to miss 5 maybe key players and it would put you at a disadvantage, they had to postpone the whole thing and penalize the Mets? Delay their season when they were prepared for that. It makes no sense. And my thing is this the precedent or the protocol moving forward? Like, if you guys have 4 COVID players test positive or whatever it is, you're just going to postpone or cancel the games altogether? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah,
I
don't think so.
Answer me this. We didn't play Saturday, Sunday. We didn't play Thursday. The Nationals are playing their first series Monday. What is the difference of 48 hours later? The whole thing did not make sense to me, and I think MLB completely bombed the entire thing. And I think I'm a conspiracy guy for baseball. Everybody just hates the Mets. Whatever they can do to screw the Mets will be done to screw the Mets.
Yeah, at first. So, I mean, obviously, there's COVID stuff going on. Okay, cool, cancel the series. That makes sense. And wait until they can start the season. But when they almost immediately after that come out and say, "Oh yeah, they're gonna play the Braves," or it's the Braves, right? Yeah, they're gonna play the Braves though without those players. That part is where it didn't make sense. If they had said, "Hey, no, like we're not gonna force them to play with 5 guys or 9 guys missing or whatever it was," cool, that makes sense. All right, understandable. But you can't be like, hey, you can't play the Mets without those players, but you can play the Braves at that same disadvantage. Because at that point, you're taking away that same advantage that the Mets should have had and solely giving it to the Braves. And that part of it didn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't understand how they're going to say, oh, hold off on the Mets series, but go play the Braves series with all those same players missing. If you're playing with those players missing, and where the extent of the contact tracing went to, right? So that's that. It's not like we were waiting on that, and that's why the Mets series was postponed. Because even that, I'm sure you would agree with, if they were like unsure of who else could have been in contact, and then suddenly the Mets are missing DeGrom and 6 other guys because they played the Nats and the contact tracing wasn't finished. That would have been acceptable. This makes 0 sense.
Yeah, and again, if that's what was really up in question, I feel like there's still ways to figure out to make sure you're okay. These guys get tested every 2 days or whatever it is to play their game, so you could have found out who's positive, negative in between. It's ridiculous. Like I said, it's not that we were looking for an advantage. Listen, if there was a world where everybody was completely healthy, no one was in COVID protocol, I'll take that world, play opening day. It's not about, oh, we want the advantage over the Atlanta Braves that are about now going to get the advantage. That's not my concern. It is a factor. It is a factor now because it's like, well, hello, you are going out there without 5 key players or players in general, and the Braves will take advantage of that, even though they also started 0 for 3. But yeah, and the Mets didn't have that privilege. I just think it was completely beyond that. It's not about, oh, the Mets taking advantage and getting a leg up in the competition. This was just screwing the Mets, who did nothing wrong, no fault of their own, setting up for opening day, and them having to deal with basically the consequences of a team that didn't do the correct thing. And I personally believe, because there's no way the Nats players or staff followed proper COVID protocols leading up to the season. And we're not talking about traveling city to city. This is getting ready for a date you knew where you had to be, when you had to be there, with no other traveling or anything like that. I feel like it should go a little bit deeper for this particular situation and have some fines or consequences or suspensions or something, even I don't want to say forfeits, but like something along the way, because now you're screwing with the natural schedule of the season one. You've delayed opening series, which is a very big ratings, money driven, and just very important thing for fans, players alike, over what we're likely going to be able to infer was a violation of COVID protocols. Not you just catching COVID from rain, out of the sky, but you being somewhere with people, someplace that you should not have been in the sphere of regulations for COVID. And I think there should be penalizations for that. But we'll see how MLB handles it. I think if it was the Mets, they would. And because it's the Nats, they won't. But that's just my little take on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it's definitely really weird that they would just like they're gonna force if they were gonna force the Nats to play without those players anyway, let them play the Mets. It doesn't make any sense for that to happen. And like you said, now they're gonna have to squeeze in a doubleheader somewhere or multiple doubleheaders at some point to make up the games.
So annoying.
It's gonna mess with a whole lot of stuff. It's gonna end up being not
you know
great.
why?
And now the Mets are behind. What's the next team that the Mets play?
We play the Braves.
No. What? No, the Nats play the Braves.
So we play Philly?
I don't know.
Yeah, we play Philly.
Okay, yeah, but now you're playing Philly playing against Philly, and Philly has already played 3 games. So they're in stride. They have a feel for everything that's going on, and even like that's gonna put them at an advantage as well. Like it's just a whole weird. And
not only that,
at the very least, you're playing 162 games. So screwing the Mets out of the beginning of the season most likely isn't going to make a giant outcome on them not making playoffs or making playoffs, whatever it might be. But still, to do that, it's just dumb. It's a bad decision.
Fun fact: the Mets have missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons by 3 games. So, both seasons. Now, here's what I will point out, though. This was on the. I should say this was in the rears, or this was. Just let me say this was right after an absolute circus. Situation of the Lindor extension.
Yeah.
Very, very happy it got done. The years are fine. The money's fine. It's not anything out of crazy expectations, but oh boy, everything leading up to it was an absolute nightmare for a Met fan who was following along. Like, holy crap. There were real instances where we got to, first of all, we got to the 23rd hour and no deal was done. So there was very real thoughts and ideas in the minds of every Met fan that, oh my gosh, this extension's not getting done before the season, therefore not getting done at all. This guy's going to free agency after the year. And we just traded our top shortstop prospect, who actually was at major league level, and our actual starting shortstop, or at least he was, for him, and we still might not get the extension done. There is so much that goes into this, Al. Like, the reason why this extension meant so much and why there was such a lack of patience You know, because I've seen it from Yankee fans and some Met fans that tried to walk us off the cliff or the edge, where they're like, dude, calm down, let the things play out, there's negotiations. And then people who took it further, hey, if they don't get the extension done, it's not that crazy, let them go lose money on the free agent market. I'm sitting like, are you guys all psychotic? You can't trade what you traded and have what is clear and obvious as a number one priority blaring, blinking, boom, boom, and not get that done. Especially when you have multi-billion dollar, $14 billion Steve Cohen come to town and figuratively is going to change the world, you know, the Mets world now financially for signing players and spending the money and stuff like that. The lack of getting this extension done, no Met fan like myself or anybody you know would honestly be able to, I guess, accept or digest that they're like, oh, things are different now. If we failed to get this done, this wasn't just losing a player that we traded for it. This was going to be, we have yet to see the effect of having Steve Cohen and have any reason to believe that this is any different than Wilpon era stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's wild. I saved a picture in my phone, a screenshot of Bleacher Report notifications that I got, and I mean, you're talking about the 23rd hour. It was like 11:06, and I got a report that they were still not close on the deal, and 26 minutes later, they struck a deal. That was I don't know what happened in those 26 minutes that was the game changer, but they got it done. What was it? 10 years, 340.
Yeah, 10 years,
41?
Because there's a little
Comcast strikes again.
Dude, this is a nightmare.
Comcast,
this is a
bro.
nightmare.
Comcast.
No, Optimum can
whatever.
die.
Optimum. Sorry, Comcast. You're also bad, but Optimum. Was it 10 years?
10 years, 340, but that's also in the addition of this year that he signed an arbitration. So, like, the total package of his extension on the Mets is 11,361, 363, whatever. So, dollars, it's great. The dollars are there for him. The years are there. There's no opt-outs. It's just straight up, you're a Met for life. Figure it out. That's your career. Now, look, I don't blame anybody on any side of, like, I guess the reason why this got to the end is basically both parties said, here's our offers, and they just did the staring contest to see, like, hey, TikTok, yeah, we're going to make our decision at our timeline, but we're going to just hold it out to every second to see if you break, like, oh, we got to give more, or vice versa to see if Lindor will be like, shit, all right, let me accept right now, all right? So they played that game, whatever. It is what it is. What scared everybody is what it seemed like. All right, so Steve Cohen has gotten involved on Twitter. He's trying to be active with the fan base. He's trying to talk with the fans as time goes on and be the public figure, totally different from the Wilpons, and be this fan-loved owner that he's brought in, especially since he's looked at as a savior. And at first I loved it, and at first every Met fan loved it because he really was the hero to save the day. But on the cusp of, back with all that stuff with the GameStop shit where he left Twitter and then he came back, but then coming back to this, and the fear of this deal not getting done, and he started tweeting a lot of things like, everyone thought he was trolling, but like, man, I hope this deal gets done, like tweeting stuff like that, and people are replying to him like, hey man, it's really not cool that you're trolling. He's like, I'm not trolling, I'm being totally serious. I don't know what's going to take. I hope he takes his money, and he's tweeting these things out, and the amount of panic that's set through, well, I would say panic and anger. So panic and sent to fans like, is this guy really not have control of what's going on here? Or two, he does. There's no deal in place, and he thinks that with all the emotional distress we've gone through in the last whatever amount of years, that he can joke around about something like this. Something that in our heads, we thought it was possible that Lindor doesn't get extended, and he thinks it's funny to joke on this. When we're ready to jump right off of Citi Field for years. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you can't do that. We'll boo you out of existence if all things didn't go well and you're talking this on Twitter. Now, for it to all work out, it makes me to believe Steve Cohen had no worry at any time, and we should just trust him and all shut up. But the culmination of everything I said before of it was so needed, not just from a baseball standpoint, but just from the Mets mindset standpoint that this extension needed to get done, and the fact that it was getting late with it, and it might have not happened. It just made that whole scenario so high pressured for a Met fan that all we could do is refresh the timeline 100,000 times until it happened. It was like Kenny Galladay with the Giants sitting there for 4 days and nothing was happening, and you were just like, dude, how is this? It was the same scenario, just multiply it by the amount of years of the contract, 11.
Yeah, no, I mean it obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, so whoever we want, we get for the most part, right? That's I'm sure what it looks like from your standpoint, and I mean, I can't name many free agents that the Yankees have missed on, but I could imagine that the scenario that you're going through, where you traded all these pieces for this guy, and he is this dude. We've seen what he can do at the position in general, and he's got the postseason chops too. Like, this is supposed to be the like it was more than just getting the extension, right? It was like the embodiment of the new Mets era, right? Where if it felt like to all of you guys that if you didn't sign this extension, it's just more of the same old Mets mantra, right?
Bingo.
But because you're able to get this extension, and you have these guys, like, obviously they made some moves in free agency. They picked up Francisco Lindor in this trade, and it's a big piece. It's a big move that past Mets teams definitely would not have made. It's this new Mets era that was at risk, at stake here if you didn't get this extension signed, and like. He's like we said, he's this dude. Like, he's the shortstop. He is the piece that you want to build your entire team around. The Mets already have a great rotation. Now you're starting to put the pieces together out on the field, and obviously at bat, the dude can hit, and he can hit a ton. And it's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna put a Band-Aid on it by trading for this guy and then let him leave? It's like, come on, like, give me a break.
You couldn't. Especially since to be honest with you, and it was going to be a hard thing to, argue with people if they say, "Oh, it's same old Mets," because there was a list of free agents that the Mets, and they were in on them. It's not that we weren't, which is totally a fresh breath there. There was a target free agents. Whether your opinion changed about them over time, or you were okay with missing on them or not saying them, these were the target free agents going into free agency, and that was JT Realmuto, our catcher. We didn't get him. We got James McCann. It was George Springer. We didn't get him because of he signed. He maybe didn't want to go to the Mets, but whatever. We didn't get him. We were in the bid and we didn't get him. It was Trevor Bauer. We didn't get him. You know what I'm saying? And then it was on to, now we didn't expect to trade for Francisco Lindor, but once we did, immediately at the top of the list of things to get done was extend Francisco Lindor. So if we would have, not that we didn't get other players to replace those guys, but we're always used to doing replacements. We know what it's like to get, the second best guy, or let's try to make the smart decision here to make up for it. And I'm not saying it's bad, but being forced to do that was same old Mets. To whiff on Lindor would have just been like, wow, we got literally nothing out of the things we thought we should have gotten. So this kind of puts it all to rest. Honestly, this could send a message. This could have been the crossroads of other free agents making their decisions on the Mets now. Not just about going to a good team or a bad team, which obviously the Mets are now a much better team with Lindor for years, but kind of like, do other agents and other players start to look at the Mets differently if we whiffed on every free agency? And they'll be like, oh, no, the Mets are just the team we use as a bargaining chip to get more money in our other deals, but nobody signs with the Mets. Or does Lindor now signing says, no, dude, this is the place to be. This is where you go not only to get your money, but you sign here because it's worth it because Lindor says it's worth it, basically. And I believe that happens in every organization in every sport, So this signing could have done so much more if you really want to go big picture on the future of the Mets, rather than if we didn't extend him and we add to that big list of free agencies we just missed on. Even while being in on them, it would have been like this new narrative starting of, yeah, you just use the Mets as to get your contract up with the Dodgers, to get your contract up with the Blue Jays, San Diego, Yankees, and you don't go to the Mets. So this could be the difference. Maybe I'm making too much about it. Maybe it's as cut and dry as it was. It's just a simple extension, but I like to believe it means a little bit more.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, the immediate impact, right? I saw today that the Mets have already begun preliminary talks with DeGrom on an extension. And
Yeah,
adding a guy like Francisco Lindor now for the next 10 years, suddenly, maybe Jacob DeGrom had thoughts in the back of his head where he's like, man, like I'm out here throwing to a tune of a 1-7 in some of these seasons and I can't make the playoffs, right? And like there are guys, we've seen it time and time again, there are guys that play for years for bad teams and then they get towards the end of their career, or they get to a spot where they hit free agency and they're like, you know what, I just want to win. And DeGrom could have been, but I mean, obviously I have no idea, you don't have any idea, I don't think anybody besides Jacob DeGrom has an idea of what he was thinking. But you're in a spot where obviously his free agent period is coming up here, and if they don't sign Lindor, suddenly, and even if they have a good season this year, right? Lindor goes out to free agency, and maybe DeGrom is like, man, this is awful. Like I you know what? I'm gonna go to the Yankees or to insert winning team here, right? And I want to go win. I want to go win a chip. I want to have a ring. Like that. Now all of a sudden Lindor's there, and he's like, yeah, man. Like we got Lindor. We got a lot better this season. And we have, it looks like, Steve's making the right moves. You know what? I'm gonna give them the hometown discount or something, something to that effect along those lines. There's so many potential like implications for making this signing that obviously hindsight's 2020. We may never know. We will never know what would have happened had he not signed this extension. But there's like so many things that we were making assumptions about that this signing did for the Mets. It's huge. It really is more than just a single player. It's a culture change and a franchise directional change, and this could be what puts the Mets in contention year in and year out.
Put it this way, I sure hope so. The DeGrom thing came out of left field for me. I didn't even think about it. He's not up like right now. His contract still takes until like 2023. But obviously, if they're having discussions now, it's very interesting. I find it so interesting. This happens mostly with the young players. Like you see a Fernando Tatis, way before his contract time, signs a 14-year, right? Ozzy Albies screwed himself, and so did Acuna with their dumb extensions early on. Blake Snell had extensions early on, and normally it's the young guys that's like, oh, let me make my first, my millions contracts early, and they weigh those options. And half the time they get taken advantage of. But DeGrom's in a weird situation. It's like, no, DeGrom, you got your contract. I mean, we all believe you were underpaid, but you still got millions and millions of dollars, so you're certainly not losing sleep over. It's so hard to evaluate DeGrom's value in 2024. We're not making a decision with him as a free agent tomorrow. We're trying to have a conversation of DeGrom in 2024. We're trying to make a conversation about 34 and 35-year-old DeGrom. Now, listen, the guy keeps getting better. So if you ask me, he's still going to be a god. I get it. And when Verlander signed his extension with the Astros, it was $5 billion. And I was like, whoa, he got paid. So I think DeGrom's not going to sit there and be like, no, you guys can't play the age thing, and you can't play the innings thing, and you can't play the what ifs. If we're talking extension, we're talking extension. Just pay me like I'm an elite pitcher, and that's the only thing you consider. And especially since I already believe DeGrom gave us a quote-unquote hometown discount the first time around, I think these extension talks are straight up DeGrom saying, sure, I'll talk about staying. You're paying me out the ass. You're paying me for what I am now. Yeah. And that's why I actually don't see the extension getting done, because it would be a little weird to figure out DeGrom's extension past 2023 before figuring out a Noah Syndergaard extension, who I think takes a qualifying offer after this year because he's coming off an injury, and a Michael Conforto extension, which is uber important for the Mets. So, again, the Lindor thing's only going to help. The DeGrom thing's weird, but I love it. Anytime you're having those conversations means you're talking about wanting to be with this team longer, and that's always a great conversation. But overall, I'm excited for the Mets. I just wish they should play already. Yeah. You get so excited after that Lindor signing, you just want to see him on the field, maybe even in a black uniform because they're coming back.
Yeah, those are sick. And
then this shit happens. So we will see. We play tomorrow by the time this drops. We've already played. Hopefully it's a W. But also I want to limit how many 7-inning doubleheaders we got to watch. So like these makeup games are brutal, you know. Like I hope we just
Yeah.
play on an off day. I hope they just throw in, no, you're playing a game of what normally would have been an off day. I take that, but you know it's going to be a doubleheader. So I mean, listen, I'm excited for my team, but this you and I baseball fan,
Optimum at its finest.
dude. I'm
You're good. Go ahead. Good Lord, man.
all I'm saying is you and I are big baseball fans, New York or not, right?
Yep.
Love the Mets, love the Yankees, but just diehard baseball fans. So one of the biggest things, and I think I took pleasure in this guy way more than you did, and that's Shohei Ohtani.
Oh,
He was so like, listen, he was a sensation. He is a sensation, I think, but not to the level that he was. And that's obvious because of the injury that he went through, the surgery. He missed the entire season of what made him special, and that's being a pitcher and a hitter. You know, a solid hitter, a guy who could play, who could DH and pitch. They're drawing they were drawing comparisons to, oh my gosh, Babe Ruth, right? One of the best pitchers and hitters at the same time. This guy's bombing the baseball. But if you take away one of his factors, he just becomes a normal baseball player. That's not sensational. That's nothing, you know. When he came up in 2018, and he rightfully took the Rookie of the Year award away from Andujar, rightfully. It was like, oh my goodness, you know, like this is going to be transcendent for baseball. Like this guy might bring in a new wave of you know, the pitcher hitter combo, or even if he doesn't, then he'll just be the sensation for years and years and years. He has this surgery. The excitement kind of fizzles out. We wait for the return, and then when he returns and gets on the mound, it's very underwhelming. He didn't pitch very well. It's like, oh, does this surgery actually take away from him? Does he have to ramp up? And then because they're the quote-unquote smaller end of the LA market, I mean, it really fizzled out for Ohtani. It went from this dude's the next coming to just, I don't care about anything Angels related. The best player in their team, best player in baseball players on the team, nobody cares. He became like the nobody cares again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, literally as I speak, he's pitching and hitting right now. He bombed the ball as I speak, 450 feet. And that would be so awesome. It would be so awesome if truly, and he's dealing right now, by the way. He's throwing zeros. It would be truly amazing if he's just, yep, I'm back. I did my recovery from my surgery. It's showtime. It is showtime again. But what if it isn't? What if it isn't? What if this dude just can't get his arm right? I'm not saying he's not throwing hard, but he just can't get it. He starts getting shelled a little bit. And the only thing he has is, I hit 280 and I hit like 29 bombs at DH. Don't you think that loses a little, you know, fizzle? A guy with a 5.6 ERA, but with a great hitting ain't doing it for me. So don't you think if he ends up getting knocked around a bit, we're not going to be tuning into Shohei Ohtani at all?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you brought it up. He came into the league. He was a sensation. I was huge on the Yankees trying to sign him. You know, obviously, I think he had put up numbers that were like just exceedingly good in Japan, and everybody brings up but it's Japan, and it's like, yeah, but then when the guy's throwing to a .03 ERA, like, we're gonna keep saying, oh, but it's in Japan, dude. The guy's giving up a hit every 16 innings. What the hell?
He's throwing 101 miles an hour.
Yeah, even if he's 3 times as bad in the United States, he's throwing a 3 ERA. Like, give the guy a break, and he's hitting the ball to the moon. So I mean, I was huge on the Yankees trying to sign him. It would have been the second Japanese player the Yankees signed who then had his arm implode, which would have been pretty rough. But it does look like he's that dude again. Tonight, in the first inning of their game, he hit 101 on the gun, and then came up to bat hitting second, and they threw a ball up in the zone, and he was ready for it and smoked it. Exit velo on it was 115 miles an hour into the stands, no problem. Guy's a freak. So of course, like you said, we're hoping that he's that dude again. We want it to be Showtime all the time. Even if the Angels are in the AL and the Yankees are gonna have to play them, I want to watch that dude hit for forever. I want to watch this, even if he's not throwing like a 2.5 ERA, and he's throwing like a 3.5 or like a 4, and he's like your 3 starter or 4 starter. It's still something to watch. You want to go watch that stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that's going to make baseball super popular again. Obviously, we know they're trying to do the whole home runs, make the game faster. I think some of the ways that they're going about that are really bad. And there are all much better alternatives to the way that they're currently making baseball fun again. But I feel like there's a lot of young guys in the scene now that are making baseball into a must-see sport again. I think Shohei Ohtani is definitely can be one of those guys. Obviously, if he's hitting 101 on the gun, his fastball's there. Whether or not he could throw a breaking ball, I have no idea. I don't watch the Angels because they're bad. But hopefully he continues to rake, and he's throwing. Yeah, and he's throwing to just he doesn't even need to be a star on the mound. He needs to be respectable. He needs to.
You give me a 3 guy.
Give me, yeah, dude. If he's throwing a 3.5 ERA, he's like your 2 starter. Good, yeah. Golden. You're set, and you have him hit on his days off or whatever it might be. If he comes out of the season hitting 280, 25 home runs and 85 RBIs, and he pitched to the tune of a 3.5 and won 12 games and lost 17 because the Angels are abysmal. Cool, like that's great, and that kind of stuff is gonna bring more people to watch baseball. People are gonna want to watch Shohei Ohtani because they know. Whether or not they cared too much about baseball in the past, or even if they care now, that when Shohei Ohtani comes to town and you have a chance to see him, that's hella cool that he's pitching and hitting because nobody else does that.
He does so much. Like, first of all, for that home run you were talking about, he's the first pitcher to bat second and hit a home run since 1903. So again, it's like having Babe Ruth.
That's before Babe Ruth, bro.
But it's like having that type of character. I mean, let's call it as it is. You have a Shohei Ohtani in the league doing what he's doing. If he does pitch, he's throwing the 100. He's not even a junk ball pitcher where it's like, oh, he's making it work by being all of it. No, he's blazing the ball at 100 miles an hour, and he's smacking the ball at the fence. Dude, he's everybody's my player in 2K and the show. He's literally everybody we've always created. You created your guy with the eye black under, looking ridiculous, throwing 103 with a freaking 12-6 hooked at 64 miles an hour, and you were hitting the ball all over the place. Like, that's what you were as a my player in 2K games, which is my favorite. And the show, now, the my player, I'm sure, is the same way. You can have him pitch, you can have him hit. The whole stigma of pitchers can't hit, it's one or the other. If you came up as a pitcher, you don't hit. Dude, every hitter or every pitcher in college loved the idea of actually being a decent hitter on their team, or high school loved getting the opportunity of being able to hit. I'm not saying that's just going to translate that all these pitchers are going to be able to hit, but now, like Shohei's kind of showing, says, hey, it's not one or the other. This next generation can get used to the fact that you can do both. Just be good. If you're good and you can figure out a way to stay healthy while being a very good pitcher, and stay healthy while doing the things a hitter has to do, with the inevitable DH being happening where you don't have to play the field, you're going to see more hitting pitchers that can get on there, where you're using less guys on your roster for pinch hitters and all that stuff. It's going to have a value. So yes, Shohei Ohtani being really, really, really good is really good for the game and the game's future. Now, I have a fallback plan. If Shohei Ohtani just cannot keep the whole starting gig going. If he starts getting shelled around, or he's going to the 4th inning, 5th inning, he's like, dude, this arm fatigue is really showing because of the surgery. He didn't bounce back right, or I think we overestimated how he would pitch in America over 9 innings. Dude, straight up, keep the guys batting the lineup, make him a closer.
Yeah.
If he's him the top relief. Yeah. That would be dope.
If he's going to throw 20 pitches every third night.
103. Yeah.
I like it. If he's going to come out and throw 103 for 12 pitches every second, every third night, whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
Like,
while hitting the lineup.
Yeah. We get to watch him, hit a home. There's gonna be, I guarantee you, if that happens, and I'm sure there's gonna be a game where he's a starter, where he's throwing, near a no hitter, he's throwing a shutout, and he hits a solo home run and he wins a 1-0 game, effectively by himself. And that'll be cool to watch. But at the same time, like, put him in a closer role, it's a similar situation. Like, if he's the only run on the board, he hits a solo home run, it's 1-0, he comes in and he closes out his own game. Hell yeah. Everybody wants to see that. That's going to be awesome.
Do you know how sick that would look? And Shohei Ohtani, DH the whole time. And listen, remember, closers, they don't need a lot of time to warm up, so he can run over the bullpen during the inning, throw in his pitches, get his little warm-up time, and you're ready to go. Hopefully it works out some way. They're going to have to work that out. But you imagine he's batting the whole time DH. First at bat, second at bat. And the dude, because you don't see him outside of his bats. He's a DH. He bats, he goes in the dugout. He bats, he goes in the dugout. He's not going out on the field. But he blasts the ball like he did today. 451 feet. Boom, gone. Everyone's going crazy. Show whatever. It's a showtime. And then it's innings later, and the same dude that gave you the lead, the same dude that's been hitting up a storm the whole game, walks out on the mound. Not that he's been on the mound the whole time, but he finally comes out for the 9th or the 8th inning on the mound. The entire crowd's going to go crazy. They're going to go absolutely ballistic, especially since so far to that game, he was bombing the ball over the field and giving the lead. Like, it's just such a cool dynamic that I'm almost like, I don't know, there's part of me, it's like I'm half hoping the starting thing starts to fizzle out. Obviously, it's bad for baseball if it fizzles out completely. But if he becomes a closer, if he becomes, not to take from Mariano, but the Sandman type closer, where it's like it's must see, you have to tune in when he's on the mound, but he's also had 3-4 at bats during the day too. That would still be just as cool. I'm going to say it would be just as cool to have him as a closer, the guy that throws 104, 103, 102, because he can just chuck it, as it is for him to be a dominant starter. That's my opinion. Either one is great. The one thing I don't want is him to suck. That would be horrible for baseball, because then it would just prove, nope, this can't be done. This can't be done, So it's a cool idea, though.
Yeah, I mean, we got to kind of wrap it up just a little bit. He's never going to be Mariano because he's the greatest of all time, and it's not close. So let's slow down there.
Of course.
If one thing I'm gonna hit on here at the end is something I've been following. You follow college baseball at all? A little bit.
I follow one player and one player only.
Who is it? Let me hear it.
Jack Leiter.
That is the man that I was gonna bring up.
Dude, the guy's a beast.
Dude, this man, everybody at Kumar. So we've been talking about Kumar Rocker for 2 years now, right? Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt, the only relevant college baseball team. They win 85% of the championships. Everybody goes to Vanderbilt. It's nuts. Don't understand how it happened. But Vanderbilt is the powerhouse in college baseball, obviously. Jack Leiter is just this dude. And like I said, we've been talking about Kumar Rocker for like 2 or 3 years now. He's been a stud. Nobody can hit Kumar Rocker in college. Jack Leiter is just as good, if not better. I mean, he's got a no-hitter this year. After the no-hitter he came out, the next 7 innings, he also didn't give up a hit. So he had 16 consecutive no-hit innings. He's just a mutant. My boss sent me this the other day, just Jack Leiter's numbers on the season. 41 innings pitched, 9 hits, 3 runs, 1 of them earned. 16 walks, 71 strikeouts, and a .22 ERA.
Yeah,
that's
dude. It's called being in a league of your own. He's a straight to the bigs type pitcher. He's a straight up. You draft him, he's on the mound.
He is. I would assume that when he comes out, the hype around Jack Leiter is going to be at the very least where Steven Strasburg's was. Because I'm sure,
no question.
I'm sure you remember when Steven Strasburg came out. Everybody was like, "Holy shit! This dude is this guy's gonna throw 250 innings a season, and he's gonna have a 1.5 ERA." And then obviously, he had arm problems or whatever. He's still good past the arm problems. When he's healthy, the dude Strasburg is still good. And this kid looks like he is better than Strasburg ever was, and anyone ever will be. The way this kid is pitching at Vanderbilt, blowing the doors off everybody to ever play college baseball. The numbers every week, I'm watching Pitching Ninjas highlights, and Jack Leiter is coming out and throwing the ball 99 and then following it up with the mutant unhittable change or slider or curveball or whatever he throws. Doesn't matter. Everything is painted on the black. Nothing is left over the middle of the plate. I can't believe that this kid is doing the things that he's doing at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and I was making a joke to my friend, Met fan. I was like, dude, I've never ever felt like this with any draft, but in baseball, you know, you never talk about
Yeah.
drafts and moving up in drafts in baseball. They said, is there any mathematical possibility of the Mets being able to move up to be able to take Jack Leiter because I want him? But you want to know why? We won't have a chance to take Jack Leiter
Go ahead.
because the Mets are going to win the World Series.
There
But
it is.
on that note, I would love to leave it off, but the World Series trek starts with them actually playing a baseball game. So hopefully this is going to drop Tuesday. So hopefully starting with a W, but you have to start playing baseball before you can win all the baseball games. It was a blast. I hate Optimum. Thanks for keeping cool through it. And next week, I'm hoping we got a lot of happiness to talk about with both our teams. It'd be nice. I wouldn't mind if you lost every game, but hopefully it's a good time.
Yeah, it's understandable. I'm sure. I mean, 1 and 2 a week from now will probably be like 4 and 3 or whatever. It doesn't matter.
I'll hold you to
Mets will
that.
probably start out 0 and 17.
No.
Francisco Lindor, it has no chance, and yeah,
Careful.
it'll be
I
a
thought you
good
were
one.
gonna say some dark.
No, I listen. I
Careful.
never. It'll never be injury. I will never wish injury on a player, but I'll hope they hit 100. All right.
Yeah. No. All right. I'm with that. But next time should be fun, and thank you for tuning in.
Yes, sir.